Perfect. And we are live with Tint Wisdom number 67. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, first things first, you're in the UK, which means it's 11 p.m., yeah?
12, 5 past 12.
Five past 12.
5 past
So
midnight.
it's midnight there.
Mm,
And then you're at your
yeah.
shop.
Yeah, still at the shop. I went home for a couple of hours to see the wife and kids, and then I came back. I've got a big conservatory job to do tomorrow, so I had a lot of prepping to do.
So, is that a normal thing? Like, do you typically find yourself working that late or just whatever it takes, or how's that go?
Yeah, so however long it takes, really. I try to go home as early as I can. Sometimes I'm here till midnight. Sometimes I'm here till 8. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get off about 4. Something like that. So today, it was a reasonably quiet day. We didn't have too many jobs to do, so I managed to go home about 4 and come back here about 6:30, and I've been here ever since. Just getting tomorrow's work ready.
Gotcha. So, um, you mentioned before you got on here, it's just you. So you just got to do what you got to do. And you're a pretty. I want to hear more. Like you're a busy business in general. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, we're very busy. We've had we've got quite a lot of window tinters where we live, but we seem to do pretty good. We do the prestige cars for the Premiership footballers, the celebrities, the pop stars, all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and do all the main car dealerships, so VW, BMW, Land Rover, Vauxhall or Opel, I think you call it.
So celebrity wise, like I think that's probably a lot of people's dreams is like whether you're working on a home or a car, like it's fun working for celebrities. They're obviously like badass cars, nice homes, and so on. How did that get started for you? How did you get your foot in the door in that market?
So basically, it all goes back to when I was previously employed by a different company. I was there for about 10 years, and I was the main tinter there. When I left there, I'll get to that bit in a bit. But when I left there, it was about a week later. I started up my own company, and about a week after that, I was just getting phone calls from everywhere. From previous, my ex-employers, customers saying, you've gone on your own. We want to use you. We only use them because you work for them. So I landed on my feet. I was very, very lucky. Like I say, there's a lot of window tinters around my area. A lot of people who do quite, inexpensive jobs as well. They can undercut us quite a bit. So it was, so yeah, I've got a lot of competition around. So yeah, I'm just very, very lucky, very, very lucky to get them type of jobs. It's for a car dealership company. So for these celebrity cars, I don't actually get to meet the celebrities a lot of the time. We tint their cars, and as a reference point for the invoice, we use the customer's surname. And every now and then, I'll surprise myself when I hear the surname. Sometimes a lot of football players, I believe in America you call it soccer, and so a lot of them are soccer players, and I don't follow soccer, so I don't actually know who a lot of these people are. And then all of a sudden, it might be a pop star or something like that, and I'm like, wow, God, I know that person. Oh my God, So it's a nice customer to have. I'm very, very lucky.
Very nice touch. So you're 36. I'm 36, but you've been doing this for almost 20 years, yeah?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right. Yeah, so I started. I left school in 2000 in England. Back then, you left school at 16. So I left school at 16 in the year 2000, and then I went about a year or so, with just dead end jobs. Just doing whatever you can just to get some money. And how it happened was, my mother would always be every Thursday in the newspaper. You'd have all the jobs in the back. So every Thursday would be the day that you had to hide because my mother was on my case saying you've got to get a job, you've got to get a job. So she lined me up all these interviews for jobs. And then one day I had this interview for a sign making company. Didn't know anything about sign making at all. I thought sign making, I pictured the type of person to put up billboards, with the
mhm.
the gluing up the posters on the billboards. And it was primarily, it was just banners. It was like almost like a banner company. But through that, I got to use the plotter, I got to design and all this sort of stuff. Being very young, I didn't last too long. I probably lasted about a year, phoning in sick, going out the night before, everything else. So that job didn't last very long, but it wasn't too long before I found myself getting another sign making job and then another sign making job. I moved to a different part of the country, got another job, moved back to the same area that I did live in, so got my old job back. So I was in the sign industry for a long time, not a long time, but from the age of 18 to 23, 24. And one day I was being a sign maker. One of the managers booked in a job for us where we had to go and tint these big buses. And I said, that's ridiculous. We can't tint buses. We're a sign making company. We do vinyl. We don't do window tints. Window tint is its own skill. It's its own job. And he says, no, don't be ridiculous. So he sent us quite far away to do a number of buses, like these double-decker coaches. Mm-hmm. And we were very lucky that these windows were just nice and flat. They were banded, they were banded, they were bonded, they were flat. So we managed to get away with it pretty well. The boss actually bought a 60-inch roll of limo black, and all of the windows were about a meter and 10. So we had all this extra, like 500 mil that we couldn't do anything with. So I kept it. And so we kept all these little offcuts that we couldn't do anything else with at all. And I tried my best to tint cars at home. I couldn't do it at all. Couldn't. So all of a sudden realized just how hard it was. But I'd got the bug. I was absolutely obsessed with being able to window tint automotive. I was a good sign maker before this, so I'd done lots of vehicle livery, and we were doing graphics on Formula One racing cars and all this sort of stuff. So we were quite involved when it came to vinyl, but window tinting was a whole other world. So I found this window tinting course, which was about £600 for a 2-day window tinting course. And what they said you buy the material from them and then you get a free window tinting course. Mm. Well, I bought all this material. It was just junk, this stuff. It was awful. Uh-huh. It was called Darts. Have you ever heard of Darts? Darts Films?
No.
It's a Latvian window tint. They do all these weird and wonderful colors and fades, and it's awful. And this I actually messaged the owner of Darts Films in Latvia once, and I said, you've got a great film, but you can't shrink it. And he said, shrinking, schminking, as if to say, what does shrinking matter? Why would you want it to shrink for? Look at the wonderful colors. It was almost unusable. But this window tinting course was so bad. And when the man found out I was a sign maker, he said, "Oh, we've got a plotter downstairs. Could you sign write my van?" So then I ended up doing more work for him than he did teaching me how. So anyway, I came out of this course with a big book of notes of me writing down stuff and zero practice, and about 200 meters of window tint. And so I went back to the home garage, tried tinting my friends' cars with this Darts Films, and it was tough. And I nearly jacked it in. I nearly said, "No, that's enough. That can't do this." And I remember sat there trying to think of wonderful ways of doing, say, like a door glass. And I remember putting sign making application tape on the outside of the door glass and trying to make a template of it, and then put some window tape on the bench and then put the template on top and trying to cut it. Oh, it was awful. And then one day my dad said that there is a window tinting job in the newspaper advertising for an experienced window tinter. So I went for it and I said, "Hi," I said, "I'm not an experienced window tinter at all. I said, I've been on a course. I've been trying to do this, for a little while, but I'm a sign maker. I do vehicle graphic." And the people at the time, they wanted me to have a driver's license, and I didn't have a driver's license because very expensive here to learn how to drive. And when I was 18, I moved out of home. I got my flat, and had to pay the bills, and just didn't have enough money to left over to learn how to drive. So this company, they took me on. They paid for my driving lessons. They paid for my tests, and I was working alongside a professional window tinter all day, every day, which was great. So I got to be his T-boy, if you like. And yeah, I'd learned from him, and I spent 45 hours a week with him for about 3 years. And then he let me loose, let me loose on my own, and it was hard. This company didn't really, they weren't a big fan of lunch breaks, and tea breaks.
Was that because they
They
were
were,
so busy, or they just like
they
didn't
were,
feel like you just? I don't know.
they were just very, very busy all the time. And the window tinting department was quite small, but they got a lot of work. They were a Lumar authorized fitter. So there's a company here. I don't know. I think it's the same in America, but it was called Eastman.
Yep.
Eastman and Solutia. Well, when you were an authorized Lumar fitter, they would actually send you these really big jobs. So this company I was working for, they had, for example, the job where all of the Renault cars would come from France over the ferry to England, and they'd have 40 cars come in, and we'd have to turn up, do 40 cars,
Wow.
go home, come back the next day, do 40 cars. And there was three of us trying to do 40 cars a day.
Hand cutting,
Um,
everything, I assume.
well, so what we had to do was they had this company also had a department which was a windshield fitting company.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, they had access to glass. So what they did was they bought in all the glass beforehand, and then in any downtime that we had, we would just be just templates and just shrinking back windows on this back window and just adding them to the pile and rolling them up and put them in this box. And then of course when we'd drive, if it was 40 cars, we'd have about 50 quarters near side, 50 quarters offside. If it's 40 cars, we'd have 50 back windows, ready. And yeah, we just come along and just chuck it all on. So it was a very, very busy company. They were, the department I worked for was only a window tinting company, but they had a plotter for cutting flat glass, cutting architectural film. And my boss at the time said that he wanted to do graphics and do all that sort of stuff. So then I ended up showing him how to make vinyl, how to
Mm-hmm.
cut graphic, read and tape and lay. And then after that, I managed to talk him into sending me on a vehicle wrapping course. And then after that, I managed to talk him into getting a digital printer to make our work easy. So the department just kept growing and growing and growing. And it wasn't long before he got me and another guy to work alongside me. And then
Mm-hmm.
my boss would sit in the office and do all that sort of stuff. And then then after a while, I got promoted into the office, and then the guy who works with me, then he got a guy, and then he got a guy, and the team just got bigger and bigger and bigger, which was great. But all of a sudden, we had some customers ringing up and saying that they weren't quite happy with the work that these younger guys were going out and doing, because a lot of our work was mobile. We had so much dealership work.
Mm-hmm.
I was constantly in the van going to all these different places. And that one customer that I was referring to earlier, they've got Ferraris, Aston Martins, Bentleys, Lamborghinis, McLarens, and they're standing there. They're brand new. They've got about 10 miles on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got these guys who haven't been in the industry that long, and they're trying to take off the door panels of a Lamborghini Aventador or something like that. And these salesmen are just like got their head in their hands. Like, oh my God. So I'd be getting phone calls saying, please come down and please do this job and please finish this job. So it was nice. I was in quite high demand. And then I worked there for 10 years. And then my wife, she had a thing called placenta previa, where in the pregnancy, the placenta is lower than the baby. It's quite serious.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up having to do a lot of hospital runs, and having to leave work in the middle of the day to go to hospital. And with her case, the thing that she had meant that they could have to do like an emergency delivery at any point. So something like at 22 weeks, they thought they were going to have to deliver the baby. And because our hospital locally couldn't provide for such a premature baby. That meant that my wife was getting shipped all around the country to different hospitals. So there was a lot of driving to see my wife. And my boss was getting quite irritated by this. You know, he was getting quite, he was saying, look, how can I book in work when I don't know if you're going to turn up or not?
Mhm.
And I mean, it was a fair point to say. I mean, it was. I mean, you know, being me owning my business now, I can see exactly where he was coming from. But at the same time, my wife,
Florida, man, you worked there for a long time. You were an important part of the business. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I think the like right move as a human being is understand like you employ somebody hopefully for maybe their whole life, you know, and they're going to give their life to your business. You're going to give your business to their life. Like people are going to have things happen, and like I'm just saying, like I feel like it's I don't know that you could really justify because I bet that guy would be better off having you there than not. You know, if that's a period of your life, like it's a period, maybe it's a year of shitty scheduling, but then at least you have something after that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But is what
But
it is. So anyway, it leads to better things, hopefully.
yeah, he started getting a bit annoyed. So and then the baby was born. Baby was born 10 weeks premature. She was born at 30 weeks, and she was 3 pounds, 3 pounds five. So it's a tiny little thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a phone call saying, when are you going to be back at work? We've got this to do. We've got that to do. And I was like, oh, I've just had a baby. I've just had a
Oh,
baby. And my wife actually has, she's got bipolar disorder. And we had the baby. It was premature. That she was in hospital for a long time. And she finally came out. And because of these extra hormones, if you like, in her body, it sent her crazy. And she ended up having a thing called postpartum something or other. It's
yep.
some sort of condition where if you have some sort of mental illness, the pregnancy can just make you go crazy. So she went absolutely crazy, and they ended up sending her to a mother and baby unit for like mental health.
Mm.
And at that point, I knew I couldn't go back to work, and I knew that if I was to ring my boss and tell him this, I was gonna just get sighs and oh, well, we've got this work and that work. So my phone call was simply, I just said, right, listen, my wife's gone to hospital, my baby's in hospital with her. I've had enough. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. I can't do this anymore. So that was it. Um, I was in a state. I was in, you know, my wife was in hospital. It was a psychiatric hospital. My baby was with her and shouldn't even be born yet, you know, and she's already in a hospital like that. So it was very hard times.
Yeah.
And I went to visit my wife in hospital and my baby, and I came home and I had about half an hour to spare. So I turned on my laptop and I designed a Tinted logo in about 5 minutes. I thought, yeah, I like that. I made a little Facebook page, and that was it. And I was then that tinter that I hated. I was that tinter that I didn't have a premises. I didn't have a workshop I could do it in. So I was that tinter that had to turn up to your driveway with no
Right.
gazebo, no tent, no anything like that. And I knew I was going to give you not the best job in the world, but I was going to do it cheap for you because I understood that I was working outside. So I was just doing that. And even doing 3 cars a week was making my income the same as it was doing 45 hours at my previous job.
Mm-hmm.
So I started thinking, wow, I can't believe it's taking me this long to do this. I'm working like 7, 8 hours a week at the minute, and I'm earning as much as I was doing 45.
Right.
And then work got more progressive, and you know we've got. I ended up renting a ramp in a tire bay of a tire garage workshop. I ended up renting a space in there, giving the man who owns the garage £20 every time that I did a car, just out of the money, £20,
Mm-hmm.
and I just ended up saving all that money, all the money that we made from all the tints. We just put it to one side, and then eventually we had enough to put down a deposit for a workshop. The workshop was far bigger than I needed, but it was the only one I could get hold of.
Uh-huh.
And within a few days, or a few weeks even, the phone just didn't stop ringing. And then within, say, I don't know, maybe 8 weeks, we had, I had at the time, it was Opel, VW, Land Rover, Nissan, Toyota, loads of them. And then we had the company that does sells all the Ferraris and Bentleys, Lamborghinis, and a company just like them also. So we just started getting more and more and more work.
Hmm.
And then we started getting work for rapping. I think it's got to the stage now where a lot of people assume that if you can think, you can rap, and if you can rap, you can think. Which is not the case. But you can't turn down work.
Right.
You can't turn down work. So people are turning around to you and they're saying, "Can you rap this car?" And I can say, "No, I can't. Unfortunately, I can rap bits and pieces. I can rap grooves. I can rap phonics. I can hope, sorry. But a full car, I might struggle." And then more and more people start asking me, and I almost start feeling sick of how much money I'm turning away here.
Hmm.
Because at the time when you find out how much a car wrap is worth, especially, you think the profit in it is huge. When you start doing it, you find out differently. But at the time, I thought, yeah, I can't afford to turn this away. So then we started introducing wrapping into the company as well, and it's just taken over from there. Really, we ended up getting a stripper fitter, a very skilled mechanic who's with us full time, stripping down cars for us, just giving us time, taking the bumpers off and the door handles off and the headlights out, tail lights out, everything like that. We've recently just taken on a young guy, 18, who's absolutely incredible, just a very, very intelligent guy who doesn't seem to get frustrated. We do window tinting courses ourselves now,
Hmm.
which goes really, really great. That goes really well. That only happened because we were seeing more and more people come out of these window tinting courses, just like myself many years ago, who didn't have a clue. And I had trained so many younger guys, guys who came into my previous employers with no experience that I had to train up, that I thought I could do a better job than some of these tint
Do
schools.
you do the tint training in person or is it online?
Yes.
It's in
No, to a person. So, what happens is someone will come in for a 2 to 3 day course, depending on their ability, and yeah, they get a hotel. They come from all over the country. They get a hotel locally, coming in the morning, and we stay however long they need. So we'll start at 9. We'll normally on the first day we'll finish about 6, and on the second day I'll say, right, we want to try and avoid a third if we can, because it's disruption to their life too.
Hmm.
But I don't want you to leave until you're confident. And so, we've got to understand here, nobody can learn how to tint in 2 days. It's ridiculous. Nobody can learn to tint in 2 days. It takes years. But in that amount of time, we can give you the foundations. We can teach you
Right.
how to clean that, how to strip door panels, how to cut the patterns, how to shrink windows, how to reverse roll, how to tint the hatchback. And then by the end of it, people say, shall I be able to tint the car now? And I'll say, well, there's some cars that I can't tint yet,
Hmm.
but there's some cars that I struggle with. But I said, you can tint a small car. So, for example, you shouldn't have any trouble tinting a 3-door hatchback now, a little back window and 2 little back quarters. You should be fine with that. You should be fine with some doors. You should be fine with bonded quarters. So I don't know what you call them, but we call them vents. The triangle windows that are next to the door window. What do you
Yeah.
call them in America? You got your quarters. So, like,
Yeah.
if you got an estate car, wouldn't you? You'd have your
It's,
back window, you'd have your quarters, then you'd have these
right.
little triangle ones.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. It escapes me. I don't know if I even know the word or it's just I can't think of that.
uh,
I know exactly what you're talking about, obviously.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah. So obviously, if they're banded, they're banded. If they've got a ceramic border, then anyone who's done 2 days, they're going to be able to do quarters. They're going to be able to do hatchback back windows. They're going to be able to do banded vents. And then we just say, go away, practice, practice, practice. Tint your own car, tint your wife's car, tint your brother's car, tint your sister's car, and then start charging £100 to do a car. And then when you're confident, do it 150. And when you're good, do 180. When you're better, do 200. And just keep building yourself up. And then I tell them that also, there's my number. Ring me anytime. Ring me midnight. Ring me 5 a.m. Whenever you've got a car, when you book a car in, ring me. Ask if there's anything you need to know about this car. When you're on the car, if you're stuck, ring me up and say, I'm stuck on this door. I said, I'll be able to talk you through it, and we'll be fine. Yeah, goes really well. Like I say, we do a lot of stuff. So we do window tinting, we do signage, we do wraps, we do courses. Um,
So, do you ever get people like
very
wanting to
busy.
take your course that like live in your area, like super close, right around you?
Yeah, so I've had one or two inquiries now of people saying how much for this window tinting course, and then I'll tell them the price. Then I'll say where you're based, and they'll tell me where they are. Normally it's fine, but I've had one or two people who are literally about 5 miles around the corner. Um, and then I'll say, oh, we have a 50-mile radius. I said, obviously, we don't want to teach you, give you all our tricks of the trade, and then you'd be our competition. So we have a 50-mile radius minimum. So if you live within 50 miles of us, we won't teach you.
And the shop that
Um,
you were working at previously, they're close by to you fairly?
yeah, they're I would say about 10 miles
How are they
away,
doing?
about 10 miles. But I'm not too sure.
Okay.
I
That's a
sort
good
of
answer.
I lost contact with them. Obviously, I wish them all the best. I genuinely have no animosity for them because
Right.
I was, I knew them for so long. I knew them for so long that you can't really hold a grudge. This
No.
company, unfortunately, they didn't pay sick pay.
Mhm.
Um, and I understand that if you're the type of kid that gets drunk one night and doesn't turn up to work, but if you've worked 7 years without a single sick day and then one day you catch the flu, you should pay me for that. You know what I mean? I can't come to work. I'm ill. I've got a mortgage to pay for. I've got children to feed.
Yeah.
And it was that company. So they didn't pay you no matter if you were off, no money. Um, so when I had time off, it was quite hard. Now my boss actually understood this, so he didn't take my money off me immediately, and he says that I can actually make the hours up. But because I had to have so much time off going to hospitals with my wife, I ended up having something like 50 hours to make up, and we didn't really have the overtime there to do. So it's all very well saying you need to make up this time, but if you haven't got to work for me after hours, how am I meant to do that time? So we put it by like one night a week. I think it was a Thursday, and Thursday I'd stay on for like 2 hours extra than everybody else, trying to make up the hours. But you can't make up 50. Well, you could in 25 weeks, but you know what I mean. It never got far. So yeah, like I say, I don't really know how they're getting on now. I wish them all the best. I don't think they're very too happy with me because I feel like they think that I might have poached their customers, but I really didn't. I really, really didn't. I mean, there's a it's like honor amongst tinters. You don't try to go out there and deliberately try and steal someone's work, especially when they've tried so hard to get it. But at the same time, if you're running a business and somebody rings
Yeah.
you and says, I want you to do you can't turn it down. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
100%. And as a tinter, if you go on your own and that's what you start to do is just trying to call all your previous customers, like you do risk making yourself look like shit too. Like because
mhm,
it is a character thing. So like you may find a good match with somebody else who has shitty intentions, but like it's not so easy to just call like, the people that are used to working with the other company going, "Hey, I'm on my own. You want to use me now for cheaper?" Like you're going to look bad to a good amount of people.
exactly. And some people are happy, and some people are happy with my old employer. They don't know they're happy with their business.
Right.
Some customers, some clients, they don't even check the work. Like if you go to like the local Audi dealership and you go there to tint the car, you say, right, I'm done, and this okay, see ya, and you
Mm.
walk off. And no one's even checked it. The car goes out, and it's fine. So I always wondered how long it was going to take before their customers started noticing the difference, before they started saying, oh, the quality's really fallen recently, in the last couple of months. But yeah, I haven't spoken to anyone, so I don't know if that was it.
That's good because it's easy to become hyper focused on like somebody like that, and it's a complete distraction because you know
Hmm.
doesn't have any part of
Yeah,
your business. I'm
that's
curious.
that's right. So I would never try and poach anyone's customers, but like I said, I was lucky enough to get a few phone calls, and then them phone calls lead to other phone calls, and it's you'll say you go to VW to tint a car, and then one salesman didn't know about you. And they go, "Oh, I've just come from Jaguar. I've just come from Land Rover Jaguar, and I normally use this guy, but you seem really good, or he seems to be really happy with you, so I'll ring you from now on." And I have a friend who works at Nissan. He's looking for a window tinter, and it just happens like that, doesn't it? And it just all these dots start connecting, and next thing you know, you build yourself up a good client base. It doesn't happen
So
overnight, but
U.S.
you know,
dealers are kind of known, not all the dealers, but it's kind of like a stigma. Like dealer work is super cheap work. Like they're just worried about the price or just worried about the price. Is that kind of the same thing, or like do you find that you're able to kind of demand a premium for good quality?
yeah. So here it's pretty much the opposite. So it's isn't it funny in the window tinting world? Some people when they ask you how much a car, tinted car, you say it's like £200. So you say, wow, as much as that. You think, oh, really? Oh, okay. I know there are some people that do it cheaper, but oh, okay, yeah, fine. And then some people ring up and say, how much? You say £200, and they say, wow, £200 is that all? I thought it was going to be like £800. And
Right.
it's funny how it's funny how the same price can throw
Right.
two different people off
Hmm.
for opposite reasons. But with dealership work, nah, the salesmen who book you in aren't actually the people who have to pay you out of their own pocket.
Right.
So they don't really care how much you charge. But again, it's ethical for you as the tinter to not rip people off by
Of course.
charging a dealership, say, far much more money than you charge someone else just because they have the money.
Right.
And then I get asked this question a lot. People say, "Oh, do you charge more money because it's a Rolls Royce?" Or and it's say, "No, not really, not really." I mean, there's about the same amount of work involved. The risk is a lot higher, So obviously, if you rip the lever on a door panel on a Rolls Royce, you might be paying what 10 grand. If you rip the lever on I don't know, a Nissan Qashqai, it's £100 or something.
Right.
So the risk gets higher, but these these cars these days, they're all pretty easy. They're all nice, they're all nice to do. So you find out you've got a new Ferrari that you've never done before. You turn up and you're normally quite surprised at how easy it is. So you can't say, right, I'm going to charge that job 5 times more than my last job just because it's a Ferrari. It doesn't
It's
really work. I mean, I suppose it could work like that, but
people.
not.
People are very much, I think, on the look. If you're going to charge a little bit more, I get it. But like, because if doors are going up, like like a Lamborghini door, like that's a pain in the ass, or like whatever it is.
Yeah,
But I think people that have those vehicles and dealers, like they know, like some people are going to give them the Ferrari price because they're a Ferrari, and like I think it's a bad look. Like I think it's already expected. Like they're used to that kind of shit. They probably have people come into their home and try to rip them off all the time. So like you're better off just
yeah,
charging a fair price and earning their business long term and their friends than feeling like you hit the jackpot with this guy now and you can really get him because you can afford a Ferrari.
exactly. And it sometimes doesn't work like that. There's a football or again a soccer,
Yeah.
as you call it, manager, very famous manager, football manager in the UK who lives in my local area. And because I've previously tinted his car and his son's car, who's a professional footballer himself, and his son's wife's car, who's a pop star, a singer, this man, he's got a very famous house on the beach, a very famous beach in my country called Sandbanks. And he's got this huge glass mansion that looks over the seafront. And so they wanted the guy who tints their cars to come in and quote their house. So I went to this house and it was huge, this massive glass
Mm.
mansion house. And I thought, well, I mean, if there's anyone in the world that can afford to get this house tinted, it's this man. And I measured it all, I brought it back, I worked out the sizes, and it came to about 5 grand, which I thought was so cheap. For 5 grand, I mean, he had these electric blinds, where you press the button on the wall and these blinds come down on the windows. I'm
Hmm.
thinking, well, them must be about that price anyway. I'm surely he's going to be okay with that. So I put it in. Never heard from him again. And because that 5 grand was apparently
Right.
too much to a
Well,
millionaire.
the thing is, it might not. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't. But I feel like sometimes in those scenarios, it's not that it's too much. It's like some people, I think, on the wealthier side, what happens is people they're used to getting high quotes for things. So probably looked at your quote, said, let me get another one," and found somebody who'll do it for half the price. And they didn't know the difference. He doesn't want cheap shit, obviously, but he doesn't know the difference. And
No,
I think that's what happens because obviously, if the guy has a beautiful home like that, he's not concerned about money, like to an
no,
extent, like you're not. But I think it becomes like a reflex almost, like, oh, this 5,000, this must be a high quote, or I don't know.
yeah. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the same as like if you ever like we have shops here that say like PC World. Do you have PC World?
Uh-uh.
Do you have a All right, well, we have like a big shop that sells lots of computers and all that sort of thing. And as soon as you walk in, a salesman will approach you straight away and say, "Hi, how can I help?" And
Mhm.
immediately you just want to throw him away. You just want to say, "Get away from me, get away from me," And the
Yeah.
more he starts talking, the more I don't want to listen. And by the end of it, I could walk in the shop looking for a TV, and this man comes in, he'll show me one, and I'm deliberately not going to buy that TV now just because he hounded me, because I automatically just
Yeah.
assume that he's going to try to rip me off. He's trying to
Yep.
get commission. He's trying to do this.
Yep.
So you just instinctively say, no, 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 go away, go away. I'm just looking. Leave me alone. But yeah, you're probably right. It's probably the same. He probably instantly just assumes that I've tried to get more money out of them than I really did. And all I did was charge him what the calculator said.
Right.
I didn't actually put on any more money than it was just the size of the house. It was huge. It ended up being about three full 30-meter rolls of tint, three boxes of 60-inch by 30 meters. It worked out at, and even then, it was some of it going to have a seam as well, where the panes were so big.
What brand film do you install?
So for the last couple of years, I've been using Global. You know Global.
Yep.
I'm very very happy with it. At the
Everybody
start,
is.
I wasn't too happy. Sorry.
Everybody is. I've never heard a bad thing about Global. No, but
Oh
like
really?
nothing ever. Yeah, it's a
Well,
very, very good reputation.
I use a brand called QDP. Global
Yep.
QDP stands for Quick Dry Plus. Can't fault it. It's got a high tack resin. I like the dye. It's very very thick. It's two ply. Well, I think it's two ply, but it feels like it's three.
Do you
But when
go ahead. No,
you're
go
trying to
ahead.
when you're trying to push the film through the gaskets, obviously when it's thin, it wants to buckle and it wants to crease. But because global film, it's got weight, so as you sort of slide it, it just goes. It's really really nice. We have a supplier here called PMX Coatings, and they're about 40 miles away from here, so it's pretty good, and they're cheap. Well, they're not that cheap, but Global, especially where I live, they're an affordable film. It's you get good quality for your money.
Right.
I find.
Do you find there like is there consumer awareness as far as like brand names for tint? Like do you have customers looking for Global or coming to you for like Lumar and then like do customers know any brands there? Is it 3M or
Yeah, so 3M especially, everyone knows about 3M. So yeah, now and then you get the odd customer that seems to know more about window tint than me, and like how much you tint my car? Tell them the price. It's okay. And then he'll start saying, "What film do you use?" And I think that's a funny question. What film do I use? I'm thinking, if I tell you, would you know what film? Do you know if I started naming some out, would you know? Would you recognize the brand? And Johnson's window film gets mentioned a lot around here,
really?
and it's because I don't like using Johnson's window film. As well as saying that, since I last used Johnson window, they've got a lot wider range, so they might have changed by now. But years ago when I used it, I didn't like it. I find it peanuts very easily on all the demister lines on the rear window. But Johnson's, we have a Sunseeker, the boats, the yachts, the Sunseeker factory is just around the corner, and Johnson's actually are the people that come and tint the Sunseekers. So because the Sunseeker factory here is so big, that means there's a lot of guys live locally who work at Sunseekers who then obviously know that Sunseekers have Johnson's.
Mm.
So then a lot of people say, "How much to tint my car? Do you use Johnson's?" I say, "No, I don't use Johnson's.
That's
I
an
use Global."
interesting way for it to become popular in an area.
Yeah. And of course, everyone knows 3M. Everyone knows 3M. Everyone who knows nothing about window tint and nothing about wrapping, everyone knows who 3M are.
Sure.
But yeah, there's Global. I don't think I think if you're not in the industry, I don't suppose you've heard of it before. I imagine anyway. I can't imagine it's an overly popular name. But yeah, I love it. I love that team. Before that, I was using Suntech Carbon.
Okay.
And I think Suntech Carbon might be the easiest shrinking film that I've ever used. It's just like you put the heat gun on it and it just reacts. I feel like if you were to set the film up and just leave it in the sun and come back at the end of the day, that it would have shrunk itself. But its scratch is so easy. It's got the scratch resistant coating is so weak. And it could be very disheartening if you're putting some window film on a very expensive car. You spend a very long time on it. You're finally just doing the finishing touches, maybe just card on the edge, and you scratch it with a brand new hard card or a Conqueror with a rubber tip or something, and you
Yeah.
scratch it and you think, oh. So it ends up being a false economy, isn't it? You end up having to tip every window 2 or 3 times, and that's not good for money. So yeah, I found Global very, very happy with them. I don't think I'll ever use anyone else. Every now and then we get suppliers trying to offer us, free samples, but yeah, it doesn't really.
How about
Yeah,
like how about like 3M then? If they were to approach you, want you to carry a 3M in their shop because of the brand recognition, would it make it worth it?
I'll always take a sample off someone. Do you know what I mean? If someone wants to give me 3-4 meters of tint, I'll always take it. I'll always use it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably use it on one of my own cars rather than a customer's car, because obviously we have to document every receipt we do. We have to document the film that was used and the shade that was used.
For
So
legality reasons, like to the is
sorry.
like when you say you have to document it, is that because like laws, like regulations, make you?
Oh, no, nothing like that. The laws actually are quite mild, compared to a lot of countries. But no, it's just if somebody, if you give somebody a warranty and they come in 4 years later and it's peeled, and then you've swapped around your suppliers 3 or 4 times, you're not going to know what film you put on that car if you're so inconsistent with the brand you use. So every receipt gets every invoice gets the brand and the shade written down on it. So if someone comes back 4 years later and says, "Oh, my window's peeling," as long as they've got that proof of invoice, the proof of purchase, on that proof of purchase will tell me exactly what film we used. So
Rick Tallman mentioned the brand Expel in the comments, and I'm curious, do you have Expel? Like, or you're familiar with Expel?
I'm not. No, I have heard of the name, but I've never used it before. Never
So
used Expel.
not probably like. Do you know if other shops like in your area or in like around use Expel, or no idea? Just seen it online.
Yeah, I've seen the logo. I'm one of them sad people that logos really, because I spent so long making signs and designing that logos just jump out at us
Yeah.
everywhere. So I've seen the sign a lot, but no, I don't know anyone who's. So my closest competitor is probably about 7-8 miles away, and they use Lumar
Mm-hmm.
ATC. And a lot of people around here use Suntech Carbon, and there's a reason for that. The reason people in my country use Suntech Carbon a lot is because there's a distributor here who sells it quite cheap by the meter. So for example, if you just start window tinting, you can literally ring up this company and say, "Can I have 2 meters of 5%, 6 meters of 35%?" And they just wrap it all up in this little thin cardboard tube. So for about £150, you'd probably get enough stock to last you for about, you know what I mean? You can mix and match, and for a
Right.
little money, you can get 5 meters of this, 7 meters of that, and you can do quite a lot of cars with that. You can get, so a lot of people use that Suntech Carbon, I think, just because of the convenience of the distributor. But yeah, in England, we're here. It's Global, it's Johnson's, it's Lumar, Suntech, Bomwyke. That's about it. I think that's about it, really.
Do you do paint protection film?
It's very cold here. So we don't use, for example, we don't use a lot of ceramic film compared to you guys over the pond, because the weather's not as warm here. It's not as hot here. We use UV protection film. Like quite a lot. Sometimes we put like a UV shield on front doors. Sometimes here, 70% of light's got to pass through the front doors.
Through the two front doors, 70.
Yeah, 70% of light, which is the green dye in the glass. So
Right.
any film on your front doors is illegal.
But most people go for it. It's not like
most people go for it anyway, which puts you as a window tinter in a bit of a difficult position. I'm sure it does for a lot of people, but if you abide by that law and don't tint people's front doors because you're not allowed to legally, but the person around the corner is tinting everyone's front doors, then you're not going to get a lot of custom. People are going to go to then people aren't going to come to me for their B pillar back and then go to him for their front doors, they're going to go to him for the whole job.
Right.
So, we've got to tint front doors too, but we always try and suggest the lightest film, and then we have just our conscience won't let us fit anything darker than a 35. So we won't put on anything darker than 35 in front doors, even though it's illegal. I mean, it's just as illegal as limo back on the front doors, but at least we can sleep at night knowing that we think it's deemed safe.
So, do you have kind of like a good, better, best when you're selling a customer, or not so much? Like you do, but people just don't usually upgrade, or like, are you able to kind of take the customer through that? Like, this is 180 or 200, this is 3, 4, or not so much?
Yeah, no, we don't so much. I was watching. I forgot his name. He had an interview with you a
Ralph?
little while ago. The guy Tint stuff.
Okay, Tint stuff. Yep, Matt.
I love his videos. I can't stop watching them. One of the reasons I love his videos so much is his techniques are so different to mine, like so different, like almost like we're in different trades, almost, and he was talking the other day, and he was talking about how he upsells jobs. How you have this one, then you have the ceramic, you have this price, and that one you have this price. But here, not so much. Here, it's for your B pillar back, it's this price. For a full tint, it's this price. We stock this film. If you want, we can buy that film in. This film will cost more if you want, but nobody's prepared to do it. Typically, in our country, in the height of the summer, it won't go past 28 degrees. So typically in the summer, it's probably going to be about 22 degrees. So that's not that hot, so we don't have to really focus on UV protection as much as you guys do, because we haven't got the weather that you have.
Right.
Also, I see on our tint lasts a lot longer than your tint as well. Again, right. Because of the
weather,
beatings that your films are getting from your sun. I saw somebody online earlier who put a top tint, a sun strip on, and it was completely clear apart from the edges. That was black.
Yeah.
And we have that in our country. Like I say, tint here can last quite a long time because the UV rays aren't hammering at it. So we give a lifetime guarantee. We tend to not really see customers ever again. We tint the car goes away. Lovely.
No problem.
Also, we don't have stamps on. Do you have to put stamps on your glass? So in some countries, you have to put like a sticker on the tint to tell the police or whoever that the specific the glass has changed now, isn't it? By filming it, we don't have to do that.
State by state, those laws exist, but I would venture to say 95% of tint shops don't do it. But there's some states, I think, where you're supposed to do it. I think maybe you're supposed to do it everywhere, but for the most part, people don't do it. That's a tricky area. Like I think if you live in an area where they're really regulating that, police are like they're doing inspections and so on, you should do it. But for the most part, it sounds like a terrible idea if you put a sticker on everybody.
Exactly. I had one customer that was going to live in Spain, so he said, "Right, I want my car tinted, but I need to Spain." So I had to make up some as for him personally.
Yeah.
And Lumar actually made a film, and it had their stamp already in it at the top. So I got a box of that. But then what I did was I kept forgetting that the stamp was there. So then I'd be tinting an ordinary car, and it was a 40-inch roll. So I'd be using, say, 20 inches of it, and then I'd use my offcut for the other side to get in that they've got this engraved stamp in the tint. So then I'd turn it around and I'd use the other offcut for the other side, and then I'd lay it, and then right in the middle somewhere there'll just be this upside down serial code somewhere, and So we don't bother doing that either.
How about like ceramic coating? Do you do any ceramic coating to paint?
No, not forever.
Is it popular there or not yet? Not so much.
It is quite popular. It's not a thing I know too much about, but we've got a valeter, a man around the corner there who can do it in about a day. Ceramic coat a car in a day. And then I spoke to another man I was working at on a site a few weeks ago, and he takes 3 days to do the same job.
So
I thought, wow. How can somebody take 1 day and somebody take 3? I mean, there's got to be some.
So I think look, from my experience, these are the two things that people need to understand about ceramic coating. Number one, a big part of ceramic coating is the prep. So like it's like painting. Like the prep is not like a little part of it; it's the biggest part of it. So the paint correction to make the paint, get rid of the swirls and so on, and like to prep everything. That is it could be, you could do a no prep, or you could spend a day prepping, or you could do 2 days doing paint correction. And then as far as ceramic coating it's like a lot of companies call a lot of things ceramic coating, but for the most part, if you're dealing with like a professional permanent coating, like a ceramic pro, that's different than like you'll see people on car forums who are like, oh, I bought the ceramic coating myself and did it in a few hours in my garage. It's like you
Yeah,
didn't do the
yeah,
same thing. You put something called ceramic
no,
coating on your car, but it's not the same thing. But like I think it's kind of like, I feel like it's like a wrap. It's probably a 2 day thing, could be a 1 day thing, but could be a 3 day thing. Varies on the car and the
yeah,
condition of the car and the speed of the
mm,
person, I think. But it just feels like one of those things, like, I don't know, I barely know you, but it feels like it's right up your alley because it's a quality thing. It's, you know,
mm.
people are looking for it, especially with high end cars. And it reminds me of when you said you were just doing vinyl and then you brought up tinting and you were like, no, no thanks. And then now you're tinting. So I feel like you got to
Yeah,
always look for the next, what is that next thing that I don't really want to do that I really need to do?
yeah, of course. Well, I mean, the another thing we've just started doing recently is
Hmm.
promoting on car clubs. You know, you get these Japanese car clubs, and
Yeah,
you get all these, fans of
bet.
whatever car. We never did that. Never did it at all. And the reason, because I never had to. I opened up my own business, and because I was fairly popular tinter in this area, all the work came to us, so we didn't have to do it. And then this whole coronavirus thing has happened, and all the dealerships are closed.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden, I went from doing what could be 5 cars a day to doing 5 cars a week. And I'm like, oh no. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, right, I need to do something here. So now we've just started advertising on advertising on car clubs and that sort of stuff. So I see what you're saying. I literally in this last week I've had to search my brain and think, right, what can I do? What can I do to
Yeah.
get more working whilst this period is going on? Do you have social distancing where you are?
Sure do. And
Yeah,
and I'm in California, so I'm in like one of the most social distancing states. Like as far as like people take it very seriously in California, I think compared to a lot of other states in the United States. But yeah, there's definitely social distancing. It's the masks. You just have to wear them when you go out. And here, everything's kind of, the engine's running. Everything's starting to move forward, and businesses are opening, and
yeah.
most tin shops are open. I've noticed on Facebook, like, if you go back to like February, okay,
Mhm.
so December, everybody's like, oh, it's so slow. I have nothing to do. Then February hits and everybody's hiring. And then the
Yeah,
coronavirus hit and everyone's like, ugh. And then now it's like,
yeah.
I feel like this last week, I saw everybody's hiring again. It's back to
Mm.
like hiring. So I think, and a lot of people saying how slammed and busy they are. So it feels like there's even a little bit of like a rebound effect from like so many people were inside. Now people are getting their windows tinted, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I had a phone call this morning saying we've got a Range Rover Sport. When can you do it? And I went, oh, I can't do it till Thursday now. I said, right, well, and then I got another phone. Well, we've got another Range Rover Sport. Can you come and do both of them on Thursday? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, we've got a Lamborghini Urus as well, and we've got a G Wagon as well, and a Mercedes GLS coming as well. Can you do them on Thursday? I thought, wow, that was a busy Thursday. That was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I picked up the phone
Mm-hmm.
9:30, booked in one Range Rover on Thursday, and like by the end of the day, I've got like five cars on that same day. It's a 45-minute drive to get there. Then you're going to spend 10 minutes unloading your van, and then you've got 5 cars. What's normally annoying is the 5 cars are in different locations of the showroom, so you've got to pack up every time and move all your stuff. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it's starting to get busier again now. Here, we've our prime minister just had a what do you call it? He made a speech yesterday. Oh, two days ago, I think. He made a speech, and he basically said, "You can go to work unless you can go to work unless you can do it from home. You can go out unless you can't go out. You can scratch your balls unless you can't scratch your balls. You can
Sounds
brush
good
your
to
teeth
me.
unless you can't. You know what I mean? And it's none of it made any sense. So everybody's just scratching their heads, thinking we don't know. We don't know what's going on. But because the Prime Minister said that you can work,
Right.
because nobody was working. Nobody was working. And then because you can work unless you do it from home. And this was about 7 p.m. on Sunday night. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, some employees here are going to be watching this, and they're going to get a phone call at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. and they're going to be their boss saying, get your uniform in the washing machine. I'll see you bright and early in the morning. And if you've been sat there in limbo having like 7 weeks off work, and all of a sudden you're going to get a phone call saying, see you in the morning. Must be awful. If you have 7 weeks off, surely you're not going to be used to working, are you? You're going to be, that
Yeah.
it's going to, you know what I mean? It's going to rub off. I was very lucky. So when the coronavirus hit, our lockdown and stuff, the day before, we just took delivery of a Isuzu Blade Max something or other, and it needed a full satin black wrap, a full tint, sun visor strip, wheel decals, embossed logos, embossed decals underneath the wrap. And then we put a wide arch kit on them, and then a suspension kit.
Oh, wow.
And so it ended up taking a long time. So we were really lucky. So for the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, we weren't affected at all. We just come in, we'd do our job, we'd go home, keep our distance from each other, wear masks, wear gloves, and then everything. But now everyone doesn't seem to mind so much. Now everyone seems to get a bit complacent with it.
I mean,
now people in the shops, they're getting closer and closer together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are starting to put your change in your hand, in the palm of your hand. Right? So people are starting to touch your hand again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I had a delivery person shake my hand the other day. I was shocked. I didn't know what was going on. He extended his hand to shake my hand. I definitely shook it because I don't know. I'm not really in the super high risk age, but I feel like there's been other things like that. I've been aware of, like mosquitoes that carry Ebola and like Zika and all these like deadly things. And to me, I'm always kind of like, I hope I don't get it, but I don't really do anything to like not get it. In this case, with everybody kind of the way the world shut down, it just felt extra scary because you just don't know. Is this the time where everybody dies? But I think everybody's kind of realizing, for the most part, that we're more in that frame of mind of like, yes, this is dangerous, and yes, you could get it and die, but you're probably fine for a lot most people. So it's not like you're going out risking your life every day, though it could happen. Where do you if this whole thing passes, you keep going on the same upward projectile that you've been going. We touched on it at the beginning of this. You're only 36, but you have 20 years experience, 20 years experience under your belt. So that's a cool position because you're still at the beginning at only 36, but you have the experience of kind of a lifetime. That's a whole career in a lot of industries. You could retire after 20 years of working. So where do you see this going for you in the next 5, 10, maybe even 20 years? What's your dream? What's your North Star?
So I've always wanted to live in Spain. I always wanted to live in Spain. I didn't go abroad for the first time until I was like 20 years old or something. And I've been to a few different countries. Been to America, by the way, and I California as well. And
what part?
I forgot your question now. I forgot what you were saying.
Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 20 years? Where do you want to go, assuming things keep going in the right direction?
Yeah, so I want to move to Spain. I want to retire. My dad's always worked for somebody else, and he's a grafter. And he always hated his job. He always hated his job. Well, it was, not so much now, but when I was a little boy, he had to, he would go out to work when it was dark in the morning, and he'd come back when it was dark at night. He's a mechanic, and it was probably I'm probably thinking about the early 90s. No one wore gloves at the time, and he was covered in oil and stuff. I remember once him and me mother broke up for a few weeks, and as he told me that they broke up, like a jet black tear come out of his eye. Like his tear ducts were literally so polluted with fumes and oil and grime that he probably hadn't cried for about 20 years, and his tear came out jet black. And that probably happened when I was about 8, and I'm 36, and it's still in me. I can remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I don't want black tears, So I've worked hard. I've worked hard since I left school, and now I want to start doing less. You know what I mean? I want my company to grow, so I can go in the office and I can book in work and I can talk about the films and I can come and quote the jobs
Sure.
and measure your windows and I can maybe turn up in a nice car and I'll be the person who maybe one day isn't on my knees. As every window tinter knows, you get a lot of water on that floor, you get very wet knees. Do you know what I mean? I want to be the person who's not on his knees anymore. I want to be the person who hasn't got tint cuts all over his hands or everything. I'm only joking, by the way. I can't remember the last tint cut I ever got. That was back in the days of training, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I want to do. Really, I want my company to progress, so I don't have to be that person who's getting paid by somebody else, little money, with no no prospects in the job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want my business to grow. I want more people. I want to be able to employ more people to do it for me, and I want to retire early on a beach somewhere, drinking a pina colada.
It's
You know what I mean?
it's interesting like how much like something like that, like your dad, that moment with your dad like shapes in a way like your whole business experience or like your whole like business, like it just, I have my own, your own like the things you're doing, become that same influence to your kids, but it's more like a screenshot for you as a kid for your parents.
Yeah.
But like your kid takes screenshots of you as an adult and they see the sacrifices and they see that dad went to the shop at midnight or is still at the shop at midnight, and like those are all like screenshots that they take with them. And I think they're important. I don't know, I'm just saying I think they're important and they're like so valuable. It's like, yeah, it sucks that your dad's, like a black tear, but at the end of the day, like he did you a favor with that by like it sets you in a direction.
Oh yeah, of
You
course.
know what I mean? So like that,
Yeah,
and then even just like the job you worked at, I think it probably was the best example, the last tin shop you worked of how you don't want to treat your employees when you have them and things go through them. Like if you didn't, you might make the same decision your previous boss made when he was faced with that situation, because he probably didn't live that scenario ever in his life on the other end of it. So like
yeah,
I think you definitely have like a lot of pieces together to make it happen really well and probably as
yeah,
quickly as you really want.
yeah. I mean, let's hope so. Like I say, it's going really well. I hate doing conservatories. I think every tinter hates doing conservatories. So I never try and push them, and I've got two this week.
What's a
Which is why.
conservatory? What's
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's
Uh,
okay.
Conservatory is like a glass house extension to your
Okay, I know
house.
exactly what you're talking about. Yep. So you're sweating your balls off when you're doing that, and you might be tinting upside down.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
get it completely.
Yeah, that's the
A
one.
sunroom, they
Hitting the
call it,
roof.
kind of.
What do you
Yep.
call it? Sorry.
I mean, one like it's there's no exact term that I know, but like a sunroom, I think is like what
Right.
people call it, like a sunroom. And of course, they get blasted with heat and plexiglass
That's it.
curved panels and all
Yeah.
sorts of shit.
So I've got to do two of them this week. One tomorrow, one on Friday. Thursday, I've got 5 cars. I can't even remember what I've got on Saturday. So it goes really really well. But because of the type of cars that we've got, I've still very much got to be on hands, um, which is quite hard as well because you want to put trust in people, of course, but you don't want to send a young lad out who you're training at the minute to do a £200,000 car. You can't do it. So I end up having to do a lot of work. Like still myself out. I get here at 8 a.m. I'm normally here till it always varies, but I'm here late. I've got to get the work done. My kids understand. My wife understands. Um, and it works both ways, doesn't it? It works both ways. So, for example, my old boss, I remember he wouldn't let me have sports day. Do you have sports day? Where you have to turn up to watch your kids do like
Oh yeah.
athletics and
I mean,
you know what
like
I mean?
there's events, yeah, events, not a whole day, but like it's like I don't know. I know what you mean. Just keep
Yeah,
going.
like where the school organised some big event and the
Okay,
parents come up to watch. And I
yep.
wasn't allowed to go one day. I wasn't allowed to go
That's
and see my daughter, but my daughter was only 5. She only just started school. It was her first sports day. So it was really important for me to be there. And I asked my boss and he said I couldn't go. And I remember instead I had to drive to the job that I was supposed to do instead. but it wasn't that far away from my daughter's school.
Yeah.
So I just drove there and I stood there and I got there a little bit early and I was stood there and I was waiting for my daughter to turn up and I was looking at the time and I was thinking, I haven't got much longer. I haven't got much longer. And the kids, they're coming out late. They're coming out late. I'm not going to. And then I saw my ex-wife turn up with her new partner. And I'm thinking, yeah, he could make it. You know, I'm going to have to go now, but he can make it.
Mm.
And so I had to stand there and I saw my little daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, she walked out. And she saw my face and her face lit up and I ran over and I said, hi. I said, listen, I'm really sorry I can't stay, but I just thought I'd pop down just to wish you good luck. And please tell me all about it. And she says, yeah, okay. And I left and I got in the van and I thought, I'll never do that again. I'll never do that again. I will never miss another sports day in my
Yeah.
entire life.
Good for
And
you.
I never have, you know, and I never have. And like stuff like that, that always stays with you. And that, you know, being your own boss, having your own company, you've got the freedom to do that. As long as it's in the diary, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So as long as you find out an event, it goes in the diary. Everything else get worked around that event. So I will be there for, what do you call it? I think in America, I'll be there for the PTA meetings. I'll be there for the sports days. I'll
Yeah.
be there for, you know, because I'm the boss and I'll make them decisions and no one ever again will tell me when I can and when I can't come to my kids' things. No one will ever tell me that I can't go to the hospital and see my wife, you know, and I think that's probably the best thing about all of this. It's just being able
It is
to
freedom.
decide what to do for yourself.
It's
You know what I mean?
freedom. Yeah.
And it
Freedom.
can be hard. Sometimes when you watch these, like, have you ever seen a 30-year-old man shout at a 50-year-old man, like a 30-year-old boss who's been, I don't know, maybe he's got put where he is because his dad's the director of the company, and
Yeah.
he's shouting at this man who's old enough to be his dad, and I think, oh, how embarrassing for this, you know, how embarrassing for everyone
Everybody.
involved.
The whole thing's a shit show if that's what's going on.
Yeah, so and I thought, you know, that's never going to be me. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be a 50-year-old bloke getting shouted at by a bloke old enough to be young enough to be my son. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna have somebody tell me I can't go and see my daughter, you know,
Yeah.
do her thing. Yeah, so that's it really. That's all I really want. All I really want is for my business to grow, for my employees to get better, so they can do it instead of me, and give me the freedom to be with my family, be with my friends, run my business the way I want to do it, retire early, and not have any black tears.
Well, I definitely think it sounds like you're on the right path. And
Yeah,
I'm glad you just shared. I mean, thank you for sharing everything you shared in the last hour, but, you know, especially even just what you just said, because I think, you know, people need to hear it. Like if you're working somewhere and you have family and like you want to go see your kid or your wife needs you in the hospital or whatnot, if your boss says no, you have a shitty boss. Like I understand needing money and needing a job, but like you are a perfect example of like you had a new baby, you had a lot of family issues going on, and like you saying, you know, the hell with you at your job, and maybe not, you didn't say that, but you transitioning to what's best for you, even so it's the scariest thing for you, it's the best thing for you. And like that's, you know, you can't sit there and be stuck. Like it's your life. You miss your daughter's time, that's your life. Your boss, what, made
yeah,
an extra $200? Who gives a shit? Like,
exactly.
who cares? You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
good for you.
exactly. Yeah, well, thank you very much. And it's exactly like you said as well. You know, it's exactly like you said. There's ways of dealing with people. There's ways of dealing with stuff, and that was the best thing that ever happened to us. Like him, him not being able to give me that freedom and everything. That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
And like I say, that day, and when I went home and I made that little logo and I put this Facebook page and started finding old photos of jobs that cars that I tinted, which weren't for the company I was working for, so they couldn't get me on that technicality.
Yeah.
I was putting up cars on the Facebook page and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, if I can do 2 cars or 3 cars, or that's all I need. That's all I need. Just a couple of cars, just to pay the rent. That's all I need. I just need a couple of cars, and then 2 or 3 cars a week turned into 2 or 3 cars a day, and
Right.
2 or 3 cars a day turned into 2 or 3 cars a morning. You know, and it just got progressively better and better and better. Yeah, very, very. I'm a happy bloke. You know, I'm a happy man. You know, I believe everyone should do it. I love window tinting. I'm very particular about it. I've done it for a long time. Contamination is my biggest my biggest, I can't think of the word I'm trying to look for, but my pet peeve, I suppose. I can't abide contamination, you know. So like when one tinter thinks it's good to send out a quality of work, and I look at it and all I can see is contaminants. And there are ways around that. There are ways to get a really high standard job. And that's what I teach as well. That's what I teach when we do the training courses. Um, it's not just about window, preparation and everything else, but it's about how to get a flawless job, or them little tricks you could create. To all right, you've got a little fiber in your track between the glass and the film here, but you can get it out. You can get it out. No, we're going to turn on the heat gun and we're going to get the glass nice and hot on the outside. You know what I mean? And then you're going to scratch out that whiteness around that fiber. That whiteness will turn into a tiny little bubble. We're going to push that bubble away, and the hairs disappeared, the fibers disappeared. It's no longer there anymore, you know. And I get people to do that. So like another thing like we do is like a flushing method. So if you've got like a big quarter, you can flush that quarter. You know, you can like make like a waterfall effect almost on this glass. And um, when I discovered that was because one day I was tinting a window in a showroom, and the every time I was at the beginning of my career, and every time I tinted this particular window, it was just covered in contaminants. And I couldn't work out for the life of me why. I was doing everything that I've been taught to do, everything that you told me to do. I'm doing it. Why is it looking so bad? And then you know how when the sunlight comes through the window and you see all the dust in the room that you couldn't see beforehand.
Here, yeah.
Well, the sunlight came through the window, and hit the glass at the right light, and I could see all this particles of dust on the glass that I'm tinting over and over and over again. It was my cleaning method, and it was my cleaning method. And basically, you'd spray the glass up, you'd scrub it with a scouring pad, which was like a sponge, like a dishwashing sponge, which leaves little white bits all over the place. Then you'd squeege it dry with a rubber block, and everybody knows what happens when you rub rubber over glass. You're going to get a tiny little, and then you wipe it with a paper towel that's got certain percentage of lint on it. And then surprise, surprise, you're going to tint the window and you're going to have bits in it. And you're not going to, and I'm like, where are they coming from? It's coming from a squeegee, it's coming from my sponge, it's coming from my paper towel, it's coming from the dust in it, it's coming from everywhere. So to get this one particular window right, I had to flush this dust off. I had to, make this waterfall effect down the glass so that all the contaminants would dribble off. And then I tinted it and it was perfect. And I remember thinking, I'll just do that from now on then. So then, I'd go through my cleaning process, and then I'd start like a centimeter from the top, and I'd like make this waterfall effect, and I'd flush this window no matter what environment we're in, and I'd tint it, and I'd get this, and it would be perfect. And I'd be showing these other window tinters who I'd be working with at the time, come and look at this, I'm doing it like this, and look, it works so much better. You do your window, I'll do my window, we'll see which one's the better window, and then next thing you know, I remember my boss turned around to me at the time saying, "You can't do that because of this. You can't do that because it's too much water." And yeah, I understand. There are ways of dealing with this, but yeah, I understand. And then one day I saw him dealing with a very difficult window. He had contaminants on, and I turned around and he was flushing the window. I thought, yeah, there you go. Look, there you go. It's not so stupid now, is it? Yeah, these little tricks of the trade that you learn on the way, and I suppose one good thing about that old boss was he was so particular. He was such a hard ass. He was such a hard ass that you were scared to do a bad job. You were scared to do a bad job because if that customer came back and they brought back this bad job, you're going to be made a fool out of. In front of everyone, people are going to say, "Who tinted this car?" And they're going to come in and say, "Mike, did you tint this car? Why did you tint this? Why did you do that? Why did you send it out looking like that?" It was the idea to me was terrifying. It was terrifying for me to produce a bad job, for it to come back and bite me. So I'd be my own worst enemy. I'd be overly critical over my work. And that made me more stressed. It made me, you know what I mean? It gave me a much worse a day. But the car would take twice as long as it should have. But then at the end, you've got this absolutely flawless job. If there's such thing. But, as flawless as it can be. And then obviously you keep applying them techniques and you get the same result, but you end up getting faster. You end up, and so right. Now I'm able to put them the anal, the anal sort of the OCD side of me towards my work. But obviously now I'm so used to do it that way now that I can do it a lot faster, a lot quicker, and we can get very, very high quality work out the door. And then by showing people the same similar tricks, I can end up getting, my trainees the same level of, hopefully, the same level of quality. Fingers crossed.
Curious, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, so I've only just started. Doing a YouTube channel, instructional videos, but it's and they're out there for the public, so anybody can watch them. But they're for the people who come and do the course with me. So normally I'll get a message from someone saying, "Is there any chance that you could make a video and show me how to do a reverse roll?" I've tried to do it loads of times and I can't. And I'll say, "Yes, I'll make that video." So then, at the end of the day, once everyone's gone and I've finished all the work, I'll make a quick video, I'll upload it to YouTube, and I'll send the man a message and I'll say, "Your video's on YouTube." He'll say, "Great, thanks." But my videos don't get a lot of hits. I mean, most of them have got less than 100 views.
Just the beginning. What's the channel? Tinted?
It's called Tinted. It's just called Tinted. Yeah, there's a few. Well, the best video on there is I hope Tint Stuff doesn't mind, because I saw him do it and I thought, wow, what a great idea.
I don't think Matt minds. I think he's one of those people who likes to share ideas and
it was a brilliant idea. I saw the very first video I seen him do was him tinting a car out of what do you call it, Walmart.
Yeah,
he got some tint from Walmart and tinted it, and I thought, what a good idea.
Yeah.
So where we live, there's a local car accessory shop called Halfords, and they sell the same type of window tint. So I went and I got this window tint for £15, I think it was. So I made a video about, I'm going to install this film and I'm going to use this tool and I'm going to do exactly the same as Matt, basically. I'm sorry, Matt, I copied you. And by far it's had the most views, because a lot of people in my country have obviously bought the same film from Halfords, so they've typed in Halfords window film.
Right.
But you know what? I was really surprised by this film. This film shrunk. And the instructions didn't mention anything about heat gun, because you're not meant to shrink this film.
It's probably made by Eastman.
Yes, I've heard that. People do say that. But it shrunk. I tried to scratch the glass with the knife they provided. I couldn't scratch the glass. It worked. I squeegeed out all the water with a little yellow plastic card that they give me. I tried my best to scratch the film, and I couldn't. I ended up getting quite a good job. Do you know what I mean? I had to do it on my own van, obviously, because you couldn't to a customer, obviously. But so I had to do it on my own van. I was unable to check quite the quality because I've already tinted my van, so I was putting tint on top of tint. So I had to say on the video, "Listen, I'm going to do it on my own van. I'm tinting tint on top of tint." And I also was saying, I must admit, I wasn't expecting to get this far. I was expecting to turn on the heat gun, this whole thing would just burn, and I'll say, well, that's the end of that. But I know it worked. So yeah, I do YouTube videos. I've got one video on YouTube as well. It's got about 2 hits or something, and it's all our kids doing all the work for us instead. So it's my son and Tom, the stripper fitter, his son, and my daughters. They're all coming in. They're all pretending to tint, pretending to rap, and I've got my daughter. I've got my daughters in the office answering the phones and clicking in, and
that sounds.
And then at the very end of the video, it's me and a guy who works here. We have one of the little old Sega Mega Drives in the office for the customers. So the very end of the video is just me and him just playing on the computer games. Playing on the video games at the end, whilst all the kids around us are doing all the hard work, rapping and tinting. And it said something at the end. It said something like, "Tinted, no children were harmed in the making of this video," or something like that. I thought it was really clever, but yeah, no one watched it.
I mean, it's not that nobody watched it. It's that since it's a new channel, you're not getting exposure.
That's right, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying, but it's not like nobody watched it. It's not like they saw it and everyone's like, "Boo, this sucks." Nobody saw it. So it sounds like you have a great start to YouTube channel. I hope you keep it up, because
yeah. Thank you. Another thing as well is I'm very bad at making videos. As you would have found out as well when we were speaking beforehand. I was like, "What is Skype? I don't have Skype. How do I use Skype? So what username? What?" I'm not very good with technology. So again, someone like Matt, he's so good at. He's got so many devices. So many cameras and GoPros and different things. And there's a man on YouTube called CK Raps. CK Raps.
Sounds familiar.
He's a vehicle rapper from Canada.
Okay.
Whenever my wife watches these awful programs on the TV, I sit there and watch CK Raps videos on my phone, and he's got a microphone, and It's great. But my videos, it's my phone on a tripod,
Do
and
it.
I'm shouting, "Hello, welcome to Tinted," and nobody can hear
Nothing
me
wrong
because
with that. There's a
yeah,
market for that.
and that's it. It's if I'm going to be if I'm going to be big headed, it's a good tinter with a bad technology. So yeah, not a lot of people have seen the videos, and if you do see the videos, they're terrible quality anyway. Don't waste your time with them, people. So every few weeks, I think I probably put one on. But they've all been done as well, haven't they? They've all been done. There's so much heavy competition on YouTube these days, and I'm still flabbergasted when I see some of the instructional tinters, like people showing you how to tint a saloon, and they won't reverse roll it, and they'll grab this entire 2 meter piece of film and jump in the back of the car, and they'll get it all the liners off, and it's touching the seats, and it's touching the headrest, and it's touching the parcel shelf, and I'm thinking, and the man will just squeeze you out and go, there you go, and that's how to do a saloon. I'm thinking, oh my, can you imagine how that film looks in the eyes, in the flesh.
You should
um
you should just play other people's videos and you do commentary on them. I think that would
yes,
be very
yes.
entertaining.
Yeah, but yeah, probably would. I should do that. But I hate to be that. I hate to be the hater. I don't want to
Yeah,
be a hater. So I watch it, and I'm the person who watches it, and then I get all technical, and I type a comment what he should have done, or what he should have maybe done,
you're
and
that
then
guy.
just before I click send, I delete the whole thing. I end up deleting the whole message, which probably took me 20 minutes to write, and I end up deleting the whole thing rather than pressing send, because I don't want to seem like that
I
keyboard warrior.
I understand that it's tough. It's tough because him on that receiving end of it. No matter how nice you say it, it's going to be like a kick in the balls. Like it's like, oh, who's this guy who's telling me I did it wrong after making this
Yeah.
video? But
Yeah, and of course, this person, he thinks he's a professional, so he
yeah,
thinks he's very good at his job. He doesn't know who I am. He probably assumes that I'm not in the industry at all, and even if I am, he's probably going to be better than me because he doesn't know me. He probably thinks quite a lot of himself. So who am I to tell him how to do his job? You know what I mean? It's and if he when I say he, it's all just hypothetical, but he'd be right, wouldn't he? I suppose he would be right because he doesn't know me, He'd chance, and only recently have I just started joining all these window tinting pages on Facebook and stuff. I never did that before because it's my
okay.
job. So when I go home, I see my wife, I see my kids, I try my best to switch off. My wife and kids, they don't get to see too much of me because I'm normally here quite most of my life. So when I do go home, I try to be with my family and
Right.
not still think about work. And then this whole Corona thing came about, and I started spending a bit more time on my phone, and I started seeing all these window tinting United and bottom loaders group and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm obsessed with it now. I'm absolutely obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to that Matt. So the other day, I finished work a little bit early, and I ended up going home and watching Matt tint the car live. And I thought to myself, all of a sudden, I thought to myself, I window tint cars like 60 hours a week. And finally, I've just got a couple of hours off. And what am I doing?
You're watching
I'm watching
somebody
someone.
else tint the car.
Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? I shouldn't be doing this.
No,
I should
I
be
know, but
with my daughter or something.
Matt did a hell of a job of making it entertaining between the commentary, the crystal clear video, like the whole way he did it. You could have easily said
Yeah,
nobody's going to watch it, yet it's very, very watchable. And I'll watch him tint a Dodge Ram, and I'm like, why am I watching a Dodge Ram getting tinted? It's not. I'm
yeah.
watching Matt, and I'm watching the tint, and it's the whole thing.
That's it. I'm watching it because of the different techniques. Like I say, different. I used to do a lot of MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One of the ways that I like to pride myself on being able to teach people is because I think that I've got quite a unique way of learning myself. I don't think I'm a very easy learner. So, for example, sometimes I would be sat in this jiu-jitsu class, and the coach will show everyone a move, and he'll say, "Right, everyone got it? Everyone got it?" And everyone's got it. Everyone goes away and I'm like, "Got my hand? I haven't got it. I haven't got it."
Yeah.
And then finally, when it's described to me, I think, "Oh, well, why didn't you just say it like this? Why didn't you just say it like that? If you'd have said it like that, I'd have understood it straight away."
Mhm.
So then, obviously, I'm able to put that same type of thing in my work. So I'm able to say, I'm able to dumb it down. You know what I mean? I'm able to,
Yeah, it's it's
um,
communication. Everybody communicates differently, so you have to get past thinking that people are going to understand you on the first shot. And another a silly one that I think is I try to catch myself and I try to see it in other people is like if somebody doesn't understand you or you see two people, one person doesn't understand the other. Sometimes one person they'll just keep repeating themselves over and over, and it's like if you say the same
yeah,
thing 5 times, they're still not going to understand it because you said the exact same thing. And like
yeah,
that's I
yeah,
think you got to keep figuring out how to explain it better or differently.
yeah.
You know.
Well, I always, when I teach people how to shrink windows, we like I still shrink rear windows with baby powder, talcum powder. Still have it. It's the way I got taught back in the day.
Yeah, it's a little
Um,
cancerous, they say.
oh, is that
I
why? Is
feel
that
like
why?
isn't the baby powder like what people were suing? There was class action lawsuits against like Johnson and Johnson because people that use baby powder like all the time, like some people use it on their body like every day, and then it would cause
Like,
cancer. And then I think they uncovered that Johnson and Johnson like knew that it caused cancers like decades ago, but they just covered it up because it's not
I agree.
everybody, and you don't really see the thing. I think it's tricky, and then I'll let you like finish, please. But the tricky thing is, I think with sometimes like these sort of like chemicals and things that we view as safe is they're safe, but are they safe to use every day of your whole life?
Mm.
And like I don't know. Sorry, I just don't. I was just thought about you using baby powder, and that came to mind. I just but
I know. I
somebody in
mean,
the
it's true. Though. I
comments
mean,
mentioned they use baby powder too, and I'm sure maybe it's just the conspiracy theory stuff, or but I,
yeah.
I think that
I mean,
exists.
I've always used baby powder, and when I first started, I remember I was getting a lot of contamination. I was getting a lot of contamination, and I was way too stupid to realize that the reason I'm getting contamination is because I'm going far too heavy with the powder. And powder is dust. You know, that's what it is. It's dust. So if you're going to cover your window in dust, and then you're going to be surprised at the end of it that it's contaminated, then more fool you. And I used to turn around to my boss at the time, the person who was teaching me, and I used to say, I don't know where I'm getting this contamination from. I don't know where it's coming from. And he's going, oh, I'm not too sure. Maybe it's the way you wipe it. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's the way you pick up the film. And I don't know. I don't know. And then one day, one of these windshield fitters had to come out and help me on a very busy day that I had. And he was the stupidest person I've ever met in my life. Never met a man as stupid as this man, but very stupid. And I was constantly laughing at the stuff that would come out of his mouth. And then I tinted a back window on a VW T5 van, and I tinted it, and I went, and I said, look at all that dirt, or look at all that contaminants. And he went, and then I ripped it off, and I went to do it again. And then as I put the baby powder on the tissue to put the tissue on the glass, I put too much on, and the stupidest man I've ever met in my life turned around and went, "That'll be why." Well, that'll be why. And it was like this epiphany just hit us. Oh my god! And it's true, I was asking all these professional window tinters where I'm getting the contaminants from. Nobody could tell me. And then the stupidest person I've ever met turned around and said, that's why. And I thought, oh yeah, of course. So obviously now we use it sparingly to put a little bit on. We wipe it with some tissue. We then blow off the excess. To blow off the excess so we've got no heavy amounts on there. We'll then do a wet H, do a wet H, and then we'll put it down, we'll lock it down, we'll heat shrink it with the fingers. I always say to use your fingers to pull down the fingers, to break up the fingers with your fingers. It's always all about the fingers. Breaking it down with the palm of your hand, heat shrinking it, flattening it down. Always talking about window film like wood. You know how window film's directional, isn't it? You can only heat shrink it to the factory edges. We like when we try and describe it like wood, like it's grained and it's grained towards the factory edges. You can only heat shrink towards the grain. So if you try and heat against the grain, it's gonna burn. And then so you try and use the I can't think of the right word, but the what the pinpoint words and stuff to keep in people's brains for when they take it home and they do it themselves. So it's all about using the word H, using the word fingers, and you know what I mean. Grain, like woods, talking about mahogany and the grain of going down the wood. So when people get themselves out right, so I'm gonna pull it out here. The fact that it's going to be top and bottom, the liner's going to be facing me. But I'm gonna do it there. I'm gonna top it up. I'm gonna lock down center. I've got my H, got my fingers, my top and bottom. I can't heat shrink the fingers because my brain's vertigo, and just all these little key words, key phrases just stick in people's heads. And we've got quite a few people who've done the course with us now who are making a real good go of it. There's two girls work in a place in the UK called Cornwall, called Shadow. No, no, what's their name? I forgot their name now. I forgot their name. But anyway, they're doing great. I follow them on Facebook, and they're doing really good. And what I did was they were also sign makers and rappers, and they decided they wanted to be window tinters, and they went in the industry and couldn't do it for. But they booked in quite a lot of work, and they rang me up saying, "Help, help! We've got all this work, and we don't know how to window tint." And of course, it was easy because they were from a sign making background, and because they already done that. Then I was able to come in and show them what to do, and they're really good, these girls, they're really good. Constantly giving me a shout out, and or they constantly messaging me saying, how do I do this, how do I do that? I tell them how to do it. They'll send me the photos of the good job. They're now tinting Mark 5 VW Golf back windows.
Mm-hmm.
Considered to be fairly tricky drink. You're proud, one proud teacher here.
Yeah, that's
I
huge. I
just
mean, that's you're changing people's lives. It's teaching tint, but it's changing people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, and it's becoming so popular nowadays as well. So I started in 2002. Not a lot of people were doing it. Not a lot of people knew. It was very niche market. You know what I mean? If somebody, someone asked me what you did for a living, you say you're a window tinter. A lot of the time, people say, "What's that?"
Right.
You say, "Oh, I'm the person that makes your car windows black." But nowadays, it seems to be very, very popular, very
It
fashionable,
feels
very
it
trendy.
feels like the industry grew along with the popularity of the internet. Like as if I just can't help but think that the internet had because it was what it was for so many years, and then it feels like now it's up the level of competition, product awareness, and like it just made it so customers really have a way of finding out about products. And
Yeah.
dealers or manufacturers really have to compete over their dealer's business. It's not just about knocking on the door. Like they have to put out products, they have to market. So, I think it's the internet. It was like there was a spark in the industry, and the internet helped like fuel that flame. And
Yeah, of course. But it's I'm assuming that you're not going to have the show, but
hmm.
here we have the show called Yanamize. Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
that?
of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it's not like on TV here, but I know exactly what you're talking about. The YouTube channel, the
all right.
Instagram, like the whole deal. He just held his Aventador today. I saw he had a black
Oh, really?
Aventador.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, he's got a show. He's got a
Hmm.
show on a popular TV channel here, about once a year, one season, for a month or so. And that just, I think my sales doubled like almost overnight.
I
You
bet.
know, he came on telly, and everybody wanted to be a rapper. Everybody
Yeah,
wanted to be a winner.
that's awesome.
Everyone wanted to get done, yeah, and then to keep up, and then I've seen his workshop as well. And his workshop's got a lot of like Grand Theft Auto themed images, like graffiti on his walls. And as soon as
Yeah,
I saw it, it gave me inspiration. And I thought, oh, well, that's what I want my
yeah,
workshop to look like. That
yeah,
I want graffiti on my walls. I want Grand Theft Auto. I want half naked graffiti ladies on my wall. I want to be doing rapping. I want to be,
yeah.
I want to drive a Lamborghini. So yeah, watch out, Yanni, because I'm coming for you.
Yeah, he kills it, and his like his shop like here like we had a show called like West Coast Customs, and like they do
Oh yeah, I know the one.
West Coast Customs, but like if you look at that as like a business owner, you're like, where do you even start? How do you get such a big shop? Like that's a crazy production. Yanni's an example of like you don't have to have the biggest shop in the world, you don't have to have the craziest production, you just got to do it, and like
Yeah,
that's awesome that he is on like mainstream TV there because it reminds me of like when people started building like custom choppers on TV shows, like custom motorcycles. All of a sudden, everybody you want a custom motorcycle, and then you're going to
yeah,
anybody who. So it's like the same thing for the industry. It made wraps like everybody probably wants to get their car wrapped because they're seeing it on
yeah.
TV, and everybody wants to be a rapper. And
That's it.
hopefully that happens in the United States sometime soon because I think
Yeah,
that's really
it's
cool.
got. I mean, yeah, it's got really popular. So we have a trainee at the minute called Gaz, and I was speaking to him today, and he said, "You're going to be taking anyone else on?" And I said, "Well, not at the moment, but when you get better, we'll get someone to help you."
Yeah,
And then he turned around and goes, "Oh, well, I know loads of people who want to work here. I know loads of people, and all my friends want to work here." It's because of Yanamize, you know. You
Yeah.
know, the whole TV show. At the minute, it's just a very fashionable trade to be into, you know.
Yeah.
So we obviously, and then when we're not tinting, when we're not wrapping, we've got a digital printer. We're doing digital printing, which goes hand in hand again. You know, we do signage, we do, you know, so because of that, we can do commercial wraps, digital printed wraps.
Hmm.
Um, World's our oyster. I did this thing on YouTube as well. It actually didn't come out as good as I thought it was going to, but I did this one where I did a very bright coloured digital print on clear vinyl in reverse, and then on a window I fitted the vinyl first with this very vivid bright colours of like a sugar skull, and then I tinted over the top of it, and obviously because it was clear, wherever should be white on the media, wherever it should be white on your white roll, it leaves blank. You know, it doesn't put white ink down because it thinks the material's white. So when you print on the clear material, wherever there's white going to be white, it actually just doesn't print that bit at all. And so wherever it was white, it just left it blank, and then that part got filled in black with the tint. So then by the finished product, it was sort of like blink and you miss it, just look like a black window. But then you start looking at it from certain angles, then all of a sudden the sugar skull starts to pop out and these bright, vivid colors starts popping out of the window. And I thought I was very original. I thought I've invented this new thing. I thought, yeah, certainly in this country, I've never seen it before. But and we did a video and we put it on YouTube. But again, because of the quality of the camera phone, it barely picks up the image, you know. But I did go through the whole process on the video. So the video starts with me picking up the image and dragging it in the software, and then the next thing you know, it's printing on the machine, and then next thing you know, I'm chopping it on the bench, and then it see me installing it, and then you see me putting window tint over the top of it, and then filming it on the outside of the glass, see if we can catch the sugar skull in the light on the camera and stuff. Got about 5 hits or something, you know.
So that's on your YouTube channel, though. The same one you mentioned earlier, yeah.
Yeah, same one I mentioned earlier. There's probably about 10, 15 videos on there, you know. Yeah, hopefully if I've mentioned it to you, there might be a couple more hits when I wake up in the morning.
Gonna be 11 or 12 because I'm gonna go watch it at least
11,
twice.
at least 12 or 13 hits, yeah. When the coronavirus first started, I came in and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a quick competition. So I put the video and I put it on YouTube, and I said, hi everyone. I said, my name's Michael Brand. I'm from Tinted in the UK. I said, right, we're all stuck at the minute. We've all got cars in our workshop. We don't know what's going on at the minute. So I thought, I'm going to put out a competition. We'll see who can tint the back window the fastest. And I said, so I'm going to start now. And I said, we won't bother cleaning it because we can't, the camera won't pick up the contaminants anyway. So we won't bother cleaning it, but we have to shrink it correctly. We can't have any side fingers. We can't have any peanuts. We can't have, like that. So I said, the time is ready and go. And I just picked up this window tint and I said, oh, what's that? I said, it has to be, so don't do limo black because it's going to make it harder for yourself to see it. You know, don't do 35% because it's going to be too easy. You're going to be able to see the pattern too easy. Use a 15 or a 20 and then please, send a reply, send a video. How fast was yours? And I did mine from start to finish in about 8 minutes, and put it on Facebook, and no, I didn't get any replies.
So you should put it on the. Did you put it in a group?
No, at the time I wasn't.
Right.
I wasn't a part of any of these.
You should share that video in the Facebook groups now. Kind of see where it goes. I think that's like right in line with people would appreciate. A good old fashioned, like fun little competition.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and that's all it was meant to be as well. Just a nice little bit of fun, See, everyone, grab the whatever sample you don't want to stick on your customers' cars out the corner and chuck it on the thing, And anyway, when I was making the video, time stood still because I was timing myself. It was the longest back window I've ever done in my life. I swear to God. And I'm timing it, and I'm thinking, oh, this is taking so long. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I being so anal for? The people, they can't see it. I could crease this film right now. They would never know. Yeah. But I'm not, and I'm being really picky, and I'm, you know what I mean? And I'm like, stop the clock. And I think, 8 minutes, 30 seconds or something like that. But yeah, you're right. I should share it. Definitely. I should share it a lot more because I'd like that to get about. Like I say, especially since joining these groups, It's really opened my eyes. I've seen all these other techniques that I've never heard of. Been in the industry 20 years, never heard of these techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these new techniques
Yep.
and oh, these new. A lot of people in your country, top loaders. A lot of people top loading. I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised there's not more window tinting peelage. From where the tint's not going down far enough,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. But some of these top loaders are amazing. Some of these top loaders I've seen. Wow. I mean, I can top load,
Yeah.
but not very well though. I'm a bottom loader. I couldn't top load very well. One of the first things I do, get a car in, clean it up, take the door panels off, ready to go. So to watch somebody in America just do a car in about 45 minutes, not even taking off any door panel,
Yeah.
but it still looks fine. It looks
Mm-hmm.
great. There's getting professional quality out of it, and I'm like, wow. Some people are, they're very, very clever. I saw somebody the other day doing something called snap shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of it in my life.
That's the beauty
Yeah,
of Facebook, man. It really, you got to join all the groups, join every single one of them, and you never know when the gold's going to be posted. When somebody posts something that just changes your whole, the way you do things.
yeah, yeah, definitely. There was also, what was I going to say about the techniques as well? Oh, I can't remember what I was going to say now. Just threw me off. Ah, never mind. Anyway, never mind. In my time, it's 1:45 a.m. at the
Oh,
minute.
well, you need, we could definitely wrap this up. It's almost, I guess, what, 2 a.m. over there? Like it's the middle of the night.
Yeah,
What time do you come back to
we were
work?
at 1:45. So I didn't quite get the material finished that I wanted to prep for tomorrow's job because
Because of this.
well, it wasn't so much this, but before I started prepping the material, I had a few designs to make first. So I did the few designs, I sent them to the customers, and then I started cutting the material, and I was starting to make silly mistakes. And I looked at the clock, it was about 11 p.m. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to come in early and
Mhm.
pick this up now, because sometimes it's just not worth it.
Oh, when you're tired.
Wrapping, oh, it's awful, isn't it? I mean, like wrapping cars as well, because we're a job wrapping cars. It takes so long that sometimes you've got to just lock yourself in the workshop and stay here
Mhm.
overnight. But when materials 30, 40 pounds a meter and you're wrapping tired, it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
And you're just fucking money in the bin, because
Yep.
you can't see the wood for the trees. You're too tired. You know what? And the best thing to do is put your tools down, go home, get some sleep, come back with a sharp head. So that's what I'll do tomorrow. I'll come in about 7 a.m. So I've got about 5 hours sleep.
If you go to
Um,
sleep in the next 10 minutes.
yeah, well, my house is a 2 minute drive.
Nice.
Uh, so I'll probably get about 5 hours sleep. Come in, get this tinted, get all this film finished, load the van, pick up two guys, and yeah, off to the customer's house in the morning with our masks and our rubber gloves. It's going
Yep.
to be hot. It's going to
Yep.
be hot in that room wearing that mask.
I bet.
Ask the
Hopefully
ask the
they
customer to mind them shirt off or something. So do it in my pants.
hopefully they're laid back on the mask thing and you get a pass, You never know if you're working by yourself in the room, so, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think actually, now thinking about it, I did measure it up, and they have got doors, internal doors, so they should be able to shut their doors and leave us naked guys, because it's going to be so hot in there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
Get a
I used to do it. I used to do it all the time. I used to be standing up there, and we used to have to drink these, them hydration tablets that you drop in the water.
Yep.
Standing up on a ladder, and you'd be so woozy, so dizzy because you're so dehydrated because it's so hot in there, and you're sweating buckets, and
Yep.
you just get tablets and dropping them in your water and trying to hydrate
And
yourself
that
and you're
glass
back up.
gets super hot, which
Yeah,
makes it even more difficult, so.
exactly. I like laying about 3 or 4 windows at a time. I want to get them 10 clean, get them 5 laid, get them 5 squeegee, them 5 cut while you're laying them 5. I like to do that, but when it's so hot in there, you can't do that. You've almost got to do one window start to finish at once.
Quick, yeah.
We even spray it up just to clean it. You'll spray it up to clean it, and by the time you've picked up your tools to
It's dry.
scrub, dry again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I hate doing black. Well, not black glass. I like doing black glass jobs. I hate doing black glass roofs. It's what we call conservatories.
Yeah.
Glass, glass. Yeah, much prefer doing automotive. But I'm waffling now because it's 10 to 2.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing your story and coming on here. And I think it was a really great story, and I really enjoyed getting to chat with you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me on here. Like I say, I saw your show online only for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, I'd love to be on that show. I'd love to be on. He's got to have me on that show. Yes, so thank you very much for having me.
Let's do it again in a month or two.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. Well, listen, take care. I hope you stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Um,
You too.
yeah, thank you very much. And I'm about to go home and get some sleep.
All right.
Thank
Good night,
you
man.
very much, Eric. Thank you for your call. Take care.
Sleep well. Thank you so much. Have a great night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.